I'm Anthony George, and it's my honor to serve as pastor of First Baptist Church of Atlanta. January the 1st of 2023 marks the official 175th anniversary of our church's founding. From humble beginnings, this church has witnessed God's continuing faithfulness and has been used by God to proclaim the gospel to Atlanta as well as to the nations of the world. It was in 1848 that Reverend David G. Daniel, our first pastor, was sent by the Baptist State Convention of Georgia to the tiny railroad town that we now know as Atlanta. Together with 16 other faithful believers, they began meeting together as a church in our first building on the corner of Walton and Forsyth Streets downtown. As Atlanta's growth exploded, so our church grew with it, exceeding the capacity of each new building the church built. In the 1920s, there were so many young families attending the church that parents had to send their kids to Sunday school at other churches because First Baptist didn't have the space to accommodate them. In fact, the church outgrew its facilities at 3 different locations downtown and eventually constructed a majestic sanctuary in 1930 where the church would gather and continue growing for another 67 years, buying up as many parcels of adjacent property as it could. In 1971, Dr. Charles Stanley was elected to serve as our senior pastor and went on to become the longest tenured pastor in the history of our church. Under his teaching and leadership, the church experienced unprecedented growth, which led to the church's decision to purchase the Avon building and its 55-acre campus, the place our church calls home today. I was blessed to enter the picture in April of 2012 when Dr. Stanley called me to serve as his associate pastor. In addition to serving him personally, I had the indescribable privilege of getting to know the amazing people and staff members who make up First Baptist Atlanta. Among our membership, there are people from 98 different countries of the world, which makes us one of the most ethnically diverse congregations in America. I like to say that our church resembles the picture of heaven described in Revelation chapter 5, verse 9, where God's throne is surrounded by those whom Christ has redeemed out of every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. In September of 2020, while in-person services were suspended during the COVID pandemic, Dr. Stanley announced to the congregation via the Sunday live stream broadcast that he had retired and would be transitioning to the honorary role of Pastor Emeritus. With his retirement, the church's pastoral succession plan was activated and the mantle of leadership fell to me. In February of 2021, after 11 months of worshiping apart, we were finally able to reopen our doors and invite people to come back to church. From that time until now, our church has experienced a spiritual renewal among those who gather, a steady rate of growth through leading people to Christ, and a continuing global presence through our online live stream. Throughout this church's history, God has shown himself to be faithful, and he has chosen to keep his hand on the ministries of this historic church. And while the past 175 years have been marked by times of war, times of change, and times of opportunity alike, First Baptist Atlanta has continued to move forward for the sake of the gospel. When Dr. Stanley announced his retirement to the church back in 2020, he spoke these words.
I have no doubt there are many great days ahead for the First Baptist Church of Atlanta. My hope is that the greatest days are still ahead.
So today I want to echo Dr. Stanley's promising and hope-filled words. And I want to invite you to join us as God writes the next chapter in this story of First Baptist Atlanta and the people we have yet to reach with the gospel of Jesus Christ. With a proven legacy behind us and a bold future before us, our church is moving forward to fulfill the mission God has given us.